my family.
Oh, okay, so we know that we read your pedigree. We know your background. How long were you councilman of
17 years.
Ward 2, so 17 years.
17 years. Mount Pleasant, Union Mounds, Mill Creek Falls neighborhood for 17 years.
That's a long time.
That is a long time, for real. So,
I was councilman for 17 years. I worked for the governor of the state of Ohio for 11 years. I worked for Mayor Willie Brown in San Francisco for 4 years, helping to rebuild public housing. I came back to Cleveland. I worked 1 year for Children and Family Services. And then I went on council for 17 years. And I just finished a 3-year stint with the Ohio Secretary of State's office. So I've got the ability on day one to roll up my sleeves and go to City Hall.
Right.
And that's why I've said to people, I've said it from the beginning. That's why you got to have true police reform, and you got to have true community policing.
true police
If
reform.
you have true community policing, if you have police officers that are in those wards and in those communities and in those neighborhoods on a daily basis, walking the beat, riding the bikes, going into the different stores, going in and sitting on the front porch of Miss Brown and having a lemonade with Miss Brown and just sitting there. Because Miss Brown knows what's happening in that community. She know where that drug house is. And she gonna say, Officer Larry, let me tell you, Officer Larry, that house over there, you come here at 10 o'clock, they gonna be some drugs over there.
Right.
She's gonna tell it all.
She
She gonna tell it all. And ain't nobody gonna mess with Miss Brown. Because Miss Brown been there forever.
That's right.
That's what you call community policing. The problem is you have broken down trust in these communities because police officers haven't done what they're supposed to do in these communities. When we know it. Going all the way back to Tavon Martin. A young brother was just walking through his neighborhood. It's his neighborhood. You understand? It's his neighborhood.
Right, it's his neighborhood.
Guy who killed him, that wasn't even his neighborhood.
Zimmerman, yeah.
Nor was he a cop.
Right.
And
No,
he was
Trayvon, yeah.
Trayvon, that's his neighborhood. So he walking through his neighborhood, and he got to defend the fact that he is in his neighborhood. And he ended up dead. And and the other guy gets off.
After the other guy was the one being aggressive.
Right.
Right.
So you think of, so that's what I'm saying.
I still want to do something to George Zimmerman, but out of respect for Councilman Reed, I'm not going to say what I want to do right now.
I think a lot of us want to do a lot to a lot of people.
Right.
I mean, not just him. I mean, right now, you think about what he did, the officer in Minnesota, I don't even like to say his name.
Right.
I mean, you know,
Yeah,
people always say, I got some friends of mine said, we need to go out, they need to take him out back and shoot him.
Right. Give me a second. T-Rex, is the call-in number up?
Yeah, I just missed it. My fault.
Okay, 21, huh?
I missed it.
Okay.
Call again.
Whoever is calling, call again, 216-249-6658. So continuing what you were saying, Councilman.
But I'm just saying, I mean, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of them. The best thing that has happened to us as people of color are these cell phones.
Oh, yeah.
Let's be clear, because we've been talking about this an awful long time now. And they just throw it off. Oh, it didn't really happen. They really did it and all that kind of. But now with these cell phones, that's why you got to have a mayor down at City Hall that understands that you got to go to the front line. I was just down in Columbus testifying against HB 22. Many of you may not know what HB 22 is.
That is the reform bill for the recording the police.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And you know what I told him? I said, let me tell you something. When I took my son down to the protest for George Floyd, I said, we went to, because we were there. We marched around the Justice Center. It was great. When we came back around, there were so many people out there. I couldn't believe how many people came up in that short, brief period of time.
Huh.
But let me just say this. So when we got back up there, I told them we're going to the front line. And we went all the way to the front. And we saw what was happening. They were throwing bottles at the police. Water bottles at the police. And they were calling them names and the whole lights and whatever. And then I could see it starting to get to a point that it was starting to get out of control because the police started to get it out of control, to be honest with you. and then they started shooting that tear gas around.
Right.
So, because I think it's important on HB 22. So I told the people on HB 22, I said, when that officer told us to disperse, it was thousands of people down there. We never heard the disperse order, right?
Right.
I told them, I said, if this bill would have been in place at that particular time, I'm running for mayor of the city of Cleveland, I would have been arrested and you would have gave me a felony and I would have never been able to run for mayor of the city of Cleveland. That's how dangerous that law is in HB 22. And that's why you got to have a mayor that understands that comes time that the second most powerful elected official in the state of Ohio can't sit back at 601 Lakeside. You got to go to Washington, D.C. when they're putting up these terrible bills. You got to go to Columbus when they're putting up these terrible bills. And you got to let them know this cannot go through.
Right. We got a caller on the line.
Okay.
Caller, are you there? All right. And it is the Queen with the Gold, Mike J. Price, who is working around here. So, Jay, anything you have to answer? I know that you know Mr. Reed very well. So you want to ask him a question?
I'm doing good, beautiful sister. Got 41% last time, 25,000. So we think that we're in pretty good shape to be the next mayor of the city of Cleveland.
Yeah, you did it. We would be interviewing the current mayor right now.
But let me be clear, I didn't take that. Well, let me say, I didn't take it. They gave it to me, and I just never said no. I mean, I didn't go down there and seek it. I didn't fill out a questionnaire or anything like that. They just thought that, everybody believes in public safety. I don't care what anybody says.
Exactly.
I saw a guy on MSNBC today, the mayor, he's running for mayor in New York, and he's a former police officer. He said, everybody wants to be safe. So, go ahead, sister, I'm sorry. Okay. Yes. But let me be clear, I never went to Columbus. I worked for the Ohio Secretary of State, but I never moved from my house on Kinsman Road to go to Columbus. He asked me early on, he said, do you want to relocate in Columbus or you want to stay in Cleveland? And I told him then, I don't think the mayor of the city of Cleveland should be living in Columbus. So I never moved to Columbus. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The fear. Mm-hmm. The fear. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
She said that. I didn't say that.
She said blood.
Yeah,
Nickel.
blood nickel. Yeah, we. Right. Right.
And they're not. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, thank you, sister.
Yes, he did. He did.
Yeah,
Yes. I remember that.
Frank had to spin last
He
time.
did.
Well, I thank you, sister.
Post it. Post it.
Well, I thank you, sister. Let me try to answer your question. First of all, when you asked about the aspect of how we keep safe, I just tell people point blank. People think it's just a saying that I came up with, and I just just willy nilly throw it around. It's not. It's absolutely true. Nothing stops a bullet like a job.
Okay.
Nothing stops a bullet like a job. The problem we have in these wards in these communities is you got too much poverty in these communities. Poverty breeds unsafe conditions. You've got to get these people work.
Mhm.
You've got to get them jobs.
Yeah.
You've got to get them economic opportunities. So therefore, there are two components out there. That's why I talk about the community policing and not just the community policing aspect of it, of the police. You've got to have people in those wards and in those communities that think about every day, just like here, Larry. You said, what'd you say? I got to be here at 6 o'clock, right?
Right.
If I got a job, I got to be here at a certain time,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I don't have a job, I just hang out all night.
Right.
This is true.
I just hang out on the corner
You
at
have
10,
nothing
11
else to
o'clock at
do,
night. I ain't nothing else to do. What am I do? But if I got a job at 8 o'clock in the morning, I got to be home by 11 o'clock. And what did Richard
True.
Pryor say? What does Daddy say? Ain't nothing happening after 6 o'clock, at the 11 o'clock,
Yeah.
right? And it was Daddy told him all the
Right.
time.
Exactly.
We know what's
Right?
happening after that.
After
So it does
11
happen after
o'clock.
11.
You don't say
You know?
that on
Right?
there.
Right.
She said it.
She said it. I'll let you say it.
So therefore, that's why I say to people that one of the things that we need to be invested in the city of Cleveland, that we have not invested to the point that we need to be invested. We put a little money there, but I'm telling you, they're called these violent interrupters, called Cure Violence. It's an alternative to the policing that's coming in these communities. It is like you just said, whether we, because of the way that we got to hire people and the service and things like that, and they got to take a test and things and along that line, civil service and things like that. We may not be able to get around the aspect of ensuring that we get police officers who are going to look like us. But you know what we can have? We can have formerly incarcerated men and women in the city, in our community, to go back into these communities, and they can convince these young brothers that you got to put those guns down. You got to put them down.
Like a
nothing's gonna
mentorship
happen.
program.
Right. I mean, these are effective programs. I've been traveling around the country, and I've seen them do this Cure Violence. I've seen them. I tell people the one I use all the time. It's in Queens. Queens has the largest public housing development in the entire country. It is six blocks and 96 buildings. Imagine. You think
Oh yeah.
Carver Park is big. You think
Nowhere
Alquay
near
is
that.
big.
Nowhere
You
near.
think about having one public housing development that is 6 entire blocks
Wow.
and 96 buildings.
Yeah,
They
That's
went
huge.
an entire year without somebody being shot in that development. Using this approach that I'm saying here. Using formerly incarcerated men and women that are going back into those communities, going back into those neighborhoods, and they're saying to those young brothers, you got to put that gun down because nothing good's going to happen about it. You're going to shoot at him. You're going to shoot him over something stupid. Let's be honest. You shoot him over something stupid.
Right, exactly.
Or some beef. You're going to get caught. When you get caught, you're going to go to jail. When you go to jail, you're going to get a felony. You're going to come out. You're not going to be able to get a good job.
Right.
You're not going to be able to get a good housing. And you're not going to be able to provide for your family. And
Yes.
you're going to do it again.
Another broken
So what
down
you got to do is you got to bring these programs. You got to start investing. See, as mayor of the city of Cleveland, I tell people all the time, we do a damn good job of investing in buildings and bridges and roads. We don't do a good job of, Larry, of investing in people.
Okay.
We got to start investing in people. Right.
It is.
We got to start. When I was in San Francisco, and we were asked to go out there by Mayor Willie Brown to change the face of public housing. It was considered one of the worst public housing developments in the entire country. Then Secretary Como, who is now Governor Como, wanted to take over the housing authority, and Mayor Brown said that's not going to happen. So he asked us to come out there and help them. We went from being one of the worst housing developments in the country to one of the most improved housing authority in the country in 1 year. Why? Because the residents of the city of San Francisco told us what they needed.
Right.
And I remember I was saying to my
That's
boss,
key.
I said, man, this is pretty daunting. How are we going to get this done? He said, the same way you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. He said, we are not here to question what those residents say. If those residents say this is what they need to improve the quality of life in public housing, our job is to give it to them. They live here 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
That's right.
They know what's going on in their community.
That's right.
They know what's happening in this public housing development. Our job is to give them what they need. And we gave it to them. And it went back to what you were saying. What did that do? It, first of all, it developed trust. That they trust us now. Secondly, it set up a partnership. Now we had a true partnership. We hired the people. We didn't just say we're going to come up here and hire painters and hire landscapers and hire carpenters. We hired the public housing people and we trained them how to be carpenters, how to be painters.
Yes.
We got all these vacant houses and vacant buildings in our wards, in our communities. And what we're doing is tearing them down instead of fixing them up.
For somebody that
Yeah.
can live in them.
Right.
Yeah.
We should be hiring the formerly incarcerated men and women and teaching them how to be carpenters, how to be roofers, how to be painters, how to be landscapers, and giving them a job. Bobby Kennedy said the greatest this is 1960, okay?
It's
Hold
okay.
hold on against me. But he said the greatest thing you can do for a man is to get him a job. Because it gives him dignity first and foremost.
Yes.
It gives him the opportunity to take care of
I
his
like that,
family.
Jamie, by
And
the way.
it gives him the opportunity to give back to his community. When you don't have a job, when you don't have money in your pocket, how do you do those three things?
You can't.
You have nothing.
You can't.
You don't
So as
have
mayor of the
that
city of Cleveland, I'm
self-esteem,
telling you, I've got the years, the experience that on day one
Yes, you
to
do.
go down there and ensure what Mike White said. You know what? I've served under Mike White for 1 year.
Okay.
Mayor Michael White. And I went into his office one day and he said, Councilman, I can go to any ward, any community in this neighborhood, even though some of those council people can't stand my guts. And he said, you know why, Councilman? I said, no, Mr. Mayor, why? He says, because I got something going on in every ward, every community, and every neighborhood in this city. Larry, we can't say that today.
Yeah, because
You can't say that
right,
today.
let's be honest. Downtown looks like a crown jewel. Go past on the east side on 30th, you go into the Beirut. I'm just being honest.
And right.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Right.
Right. And ironic and ironically, there are a lot of great committees. And when Kevin Kelly became the council president, and I went to him, I could have asked to be the chairman of public safety, which is a great chairman of finance. You know what I asked him to be chairman of? Workforce development. Because I understood that people gotta have jobs. They just have to have. We live in a country where if you don't have a job and you're not making good money, then you're not really what we call in the society from their standpoint.
Not at all.
And I'm saying to you, and he turned me down. He didn't let me get that chairmanship. He gave me any chairmanship, but whatever it may be. But I just understand that if we're going to rebuild the Buckeyes, if we're going to rebuild Kinsman, if we're going to rebuild Clark Fulton, you got to have somebody in 601 Lakeside that is not going to make an excuse for intentionally going into those communities and investing in those communities. They have had a lack of investment for too long. And and Willie Brown taught me in San Francisco. He said, money is never the problem. It's the will for people to do the right thing. That's what he taught me. And I've learned it over these years. We're about to get $500 million under the stimulus program that we got to spend by 2024. Every year, the city of Cleveland gets between $20 and $30 million of block grant money. We've been getting this money from the existence. When Congressman Louis Stokes and Oakart got them to put the block grant program into place, was supposed to eradicate poverty. So we're one of the legacy cities that got this money, but yet we become poorer and poorer year after year. You know why? Because we got this top-down approach and how we're going to spend this $20 to $30 million. Instead of going back out into those communities like we did in San Francisco and saying to those people in those communities, we get $20 to $25 million. We got a $1.5 billion budget. How do you think we should spend this money in Mount Pleasant? How do you think we should spend this money in West Park? Businesses. How do you think we should spend this money?
Exactly. I totally agree. And I think that's part of the issue. I think one of the issues is how that money is being distributed. I hear, jobs. And first off, I want to say I commend you. I'm actually from that area. My mom still lives there. I'm in Lyndhurst now. I see the work that has gone in there. I've seen the housing. I've seen the building. I've seen a lot of the work that you have done over in that community. But one of the things that I will say still remains is, like you stated, jobs. I think we have a lot of individuals with the spirit of entrepreneurship, but they can't get the funding, they can't get the support that they need, and they want to build up their community, but who's going to support them? And I think that's what we need to see. A lot of times these funds, they're distributed, like you said, they're top heavy. They go to the same individuals, the same companies, the same whatever. What do we need to do to build that community and to make the people feel a part of that community? And I feel that is exactly what is missing, because we can say we want to say, even with law enforcement, and I know that we say, you stated, we can't always get around that. I actually have something that I want to pitch to you, an idea I came up with a while ago, but I don't want to say it on air. I want to give that directly to you. Okay. That I think, in my opinion, could even help room that process in getting more individuals that look like the people that are in that community. But that is very huge to me, how funds are distributed, making sure that the people in those communities matter, making sure they know that they matter, making sure that what they want to see in their community is going. I hear a lot about, grocery stores and good foods, organics, fruits, vegetables, things like that are affordable, building those partnerships with closer, businesses that may be out in the Amish country and different things like that, and bringing those in and using them as the distribution hubs, So I think like that, to me, that is very, 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 being a part of that community, knowing a lot of people there, coming from that is very important to the people in that area because they do want growth, they do want to be better, but they have no way of knowing. They don't have the class, they don't have the resources, they don't even know where to start.
Well, let me say this. I just said you. I just finished 3 years with Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose.
Okay.
My job was the Minority Affairs Coordinator. So my job was to travel the entire state of Ohio: Toledo, Youngstown, Columbus, Dayton, Akron. My job was to speak to minority businesses, minority organizations, and minority individuals about, first of all, how do you start a business? Second of all, how do you maintain your business? And third, how do you grow your business? And one of the things that after I started and I got there for a year, and it didn't matter where we're at in the city, what city I was in, the one thing I kept hearing about is capital, capital, capital. I need capital. Okay? And I said to the secretary that we keep sending these individuals to institutions, financial institutions that traditionally don't give them money anyway.
Right.
So we tell them, get your stuff together, go down to that financial institution and try to get a loan. And they're not giving them a loan for $5,000 to put a roof on their house, let alone we need $50,000 to start a new business. So I even said to the treasurer, I said to him, we need to start our own bank. Why in the state of Ohio be in the bank? Why don't we compete against those banks? Because you can't keep sending them down to those financial institutions knowing that they're not going to get the funding.
Right.
So the city that I brag on is Cincinnati. After they had their riot, after that young man got shot down there, which we didn't do up here after Tamir, and I said we should have rioted. I don't want anybody to say we should have rioted.
Like those poor Zack Reed on that.
Right.
But after it happened, they said, this is never going to happen again. So they made a decision when they moved forward to get things done in that city that they want to bring everybody around the table. So when they let out contracts, when there were venture capital, when there were ventures going forward, they made sure that everybody was around that table. And what did Essence Magazine say about a year or two ago? Business is booming in Cincinnati, especially if you are black. Because they made a decision. And this is what we have not done here in this city. And I'm telling you, when I'm mayor of the city of Cleveland, they made a decision. One of the last places I visited was Dayton, Ohio. And as me and the secretary was roaming through Dayton, Ohio, we kept hearing it over and over again. You've got to be intentional. If you are going to do what you just said, sister, it's got to be intentional. You got to intentionally go into the Buckeye, the Buckeye. And you got to intentionally say, we are going to build new businesses in this community. You got to intentionally go into the Clark Ford neighborhoods. And you got to say, I'm going to intentionally build new businesses in this community. It's got to be intentional. What the mayor of Cincinnati right now, they're going to get less money than we're getting under the stimulus money. But he has already said when they get their money, they already slotted that X amount of those dollars are going to go directly into the hands of minority businesses.
Right. So
he's already said that. What does our mayor say? I don't know what we're going to do with it.
Oh, God.
We might do this. We might do that. And I'm trying to say, if somebody told you you're going to get $500 million, you should already have a plan.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. Speaking of a question, I got one on my Facebook Live from Kevin, my man Kevin. Kevin Curry, he said, if you become mayor and when you become mayor, how we get jobs to come back to the city of Cleveland? How would you get them first part?
Well, first of all, I think you got to create the environment. See, you got to create that environment. First of all, we got to take care of the jobs that are already here.
Okay.
So we can't keep people leaving and jobs leaving. And under the pandemic, there are a bunch of jobs that have left. Yeah. So first of all, we got to take care of the ones that are here now. God bless the child that got his own. And what our mama and daddy taught us from the beginning, right? Secondly, you got to create that environment. The example I use is, I tell people, and we old enough to remember Tremont wasn't what Tremont is today.
No.
Go back 20, 25 years ago and look at Tremont.
It's booming now.
It's booming. What did they do? They created the environment.
Yes.
Look at West 65th Street. Prostitutes were walking down West 65th Street 25 years ago. They created the environment.
Right.
The problem that we have in these black neighborhoods, and I'm just going to be honest with you, in these black East Side neighborhoods, we haven't created that environment. We think it's just going to happen, and that's why I'm trying to tell you. You don't need to have overly aggressive policing, but you got to have public safety. You got to have public safety. I mean, people gotta believe. It's almost like when we did Family Unity. Heard the sister. When we did Family Unity, yeah, we had a lot of police officers. Why? Because we wanted the families that were coming there to know that you were gonna be safe.
Right.
Now, none of our police officers were being aggressive out there, but you knew that if you did something, that something might happen to you.
Right.
Okay? But that's why we could go 15 years as we did with having the OJ. You know, OJ's ain't coming to the Luke Easter Park on no frequent if they think it's because you know what happens. And Larry, y'all know what happens.
Right, yeah.
I mean, when the whispers came and they went back, they told everybody.
They told everybody.
This is cool.
Word of mouth. Yeah,
this
is
is
cool.
word of mouth. When Stephanie came, Stephanie Mills,
and you know what?
Right.
I was there when she was there, and I was going through one of the craziest, worst times of my life, and she put something in me. You know, like, so I understand.
So she wouldn't have went back to her little people and told them, don't go to that concert, don't go to that place. But they told them, this is cool. You want to go up there. I mean, first of all, you're talking about, you ain't been in front of 20,000 people in 100 years now.
Right.
There's 20,000 people out there. And they hollering and screaming your name, want to hear your song. And then you got fireworks. It's the environment. Or you said, Kevin, it's the environment. What we got to do in these wards, in these communities, we got to set up the environment for entrepreneurship. And I just did that for 3 years. We got to set up the environment of public safety. I just did that for 17 years as a council person. And once you do that, I guarantee you, I was just in West Park today. You'll start to see these wards and these communities and these neighborhoods grow and prosper. Why is downtown good? Why is downtown prospering today? Because it's clean and safe.
Right.
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
It's clean and safe.
Except when the Cavaliers won the 2016 championship, but you know, everything went crazy. That's just on a lighter note. But
so I'm just telling you, Kevin, that's what's got to happen. If we're gonna, first of all, we take care of the businesses and the jobs that are here right now. But then, as we try to expand, we got to start to. One of the good things that's happened today is one great thing that we got Secretary Marsha Fudge. You might have heard what's going to happen to Woodland Hills. We just got $35 million to go up in what we call Moore's Black. You know, they try to change the name around, but whatever it may be. But now those people are now going to have hope because now we're going to be able to rebuild that public housing development up there and bring them into the revitalization of our wards and our communities and our neighborhoods. And if we can do it there, we need to do it around the city of Cleveland.
And we can take it back to where it used to be.
Exactly. I got a question. You better ask Marsha. Marsha
got it. Marsha controlling it now.
All right. Better ask Marsha. Real. Now, I've got a question about, you said public safety.
Yes.
If you were elected mayor, when you're elected mayor, will you keep Chief Calvin Williams on?
Hell no.
You couldn't even get that question out.
Hell no. I mean, that wasn't me now. That was Tristan.
You went T-Rex. Like, okay. I said that.
And let me tell you what.
Go ahead.
The last time I ran, I said I was going to make Calvin my safety director. So I have nothing against Calvin. My problem with Calvin is, and you just mentioned the Cavs, and we all Browns fans, okay? We all love our Browns. But we now, as we are sitting in the studio today, there have been 63 people killed in the city of Cleveland already this year.
That's too much.
That means that we're going in our 10th consecutive year of 100 homicides. Now, I went to Cleveland Public Schools, so I might not have got the greatest education in the world as it relates to adding and subtracting and mathing. But at the end of the day, I do kind of know I can add, subtract, and I can multiply. 10 times 10 is 1,000.
Right.
Okay? That means 1,000 people have been killed in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And what's the common denominator? the mayor and the safety and the police chief.
Right.
Okay? And understand, more so than that, 75 to 80% of them are young black men. Okay? So think about that. So you just think about that. 1,000 of them, 75 to 85% of them are black men. What could those black men be right now? They could be sitting in the studio and they're talking about us. They could be doctors. They could be lawyers. They could be mayors. They could be fathers. They could be better than what they are right now, sitting in a box in a gravesite. So I say that, and I use the analogy of if the Browns went 10 years with a losing record, and that's what it is, a losing record when you got 1,000 people being killed, we'd have fired that. We would have fired that. We would have fired. We would have fired. So if you're gonna fire a coach because a coach can't win football games, why do you still have the police chief there that's in charge of the safety forces, and things in those wards and those communities aren't getting safer? And then the slap in our face, people.
Oh God!
And I just want to.
Go ahead, Zach. Go ahead.
The slap in our face is they tried to blame it on the pandemic last year. The reason that crime is out of control is because of the pandemic. Crime was out of control in the city of Cleveland and the violence in the city of Cleveland before the pandemic. How is it that a city like San Francisco, my second city, who I moved from to come to Cleveland, how is it that a city of almost 1 million people had 40 or 50 homicides last year, and not last year, year before, and the city of Cleveland is over 100 homicides for the last 10 years? Last year we finished the year with 177 homicides in the city of Cleveland of 400,000 people. How is that possible? Because you don't have the leadership at 601 Lakeside that understand when people are not safe, they don't move into those communities. When the people are not safe, businesses don't come into those communities.
And no jobs.
And I'm trying to tell you that nothing stops a bullet like a job. And that's why you got to create these jobs. You got to create economic opportunity. Our Bible is clear. You got to have hope. And what we've done is we drained the hope out of these wards and these communities. And as mayor of the city of Cleveland, I'm going to be out there with them. One of the things I haven't talked about here, because we haven't talked about it much, but I've said it last time and I've said it again this time. I think the mayor of the city of Cleveland should be much more transparent than the mayor we have right now. I think you need to be out there walking the streets. You joked about whether or not he's standing out on the street corner and all that kind of stuff.
Because you made him do it when you ran against him.
That's up to him.
Right.
My thing is, you should be out there in these wards, in these communities, in these neighborhoods. You are the second most powerful political figure in the entire state of Ohio, behind the governor of the state of Ohio. Just you walking in these communities brings hope to these people in these communities, that if he can walk in these communities, if he's walking down these neighborhoods, if he's sitting on these porches, then it must be all right to do this. That's why I said every Saturday, I am going to open up the mayor's office. Whether you have an appointment or don't have an appointment, I want you to come down and talk to me. I don't have all the answers. But you in these wards, my thing is, I use the analogy. I say, if the CEOs of Cleveland Clinic, University Hospital, or Sherman-Williams picked up their phone and said, I need to talk to the mayor, I need to see the mayor, I guarantee you they would be able to see the mayor. Why can't Miss Brown living on 158th and St. Clair come see the mayor? She got a problem. She been trying to work the system. System ain't work for her. And she want to come see the mayor. Why can't Mr. Jones that lives on West 108th Street, why can't he come down and see the mayor? I guarantee you his problem is not as big in magnitude and ain't gonna cost us as much as those CEOs of those big corporations. And I'm not saying their problems aren't big, but I'm saying that they should have access to the mayor. The mayor should have access to those people in those communities. He should be more transparent so we can fix these problems in these communities. I go back to what I told you in San Francisco. The reason they loved Mayor Willie Brown, because he would go to public housing. He would go to public housing. Wasn't enough for him to go up in public housing. He'd walk around public housing. Because he understood these people deserve the same access to the mayor as somebody that's up in some white ivory tower.
It shows you care.
Right. It shows you care. Now, all right, I'm going to ask this question.
Okay.
We already know your pedigree. We already know your resume. However, we already know that there's 10, 11 other people running for the city of Cleveland mayor. First of all, how can people donate to your campaign or volunteer for your campaign? Let's get that out of the way.
Well, first of all, I say we don't know anything until June 16th. On June 16th, that's when you have to turn in your 3,000 valid signatures at the Board of Election. Now, I was supposed to debate, I don't know call it a debate or whatever it must be, on Monday with the Methodist churches. And they called and canceled it because this one person, I have no idea who he was, but he dropped out the race. So on the 16th, we'll find out who's actually running. So we can say people want, so no more, I want to run, I need to run, I should run. On the 16th, if you don't have your 3,000 valid signatures and they not at the Board of Elections, you ain't running. Okay. All right? Okay? So let's be clear. So
I go sat down.
All right. So we'll see whether that happens. But people can go to my website. I mean, I tell people, go to www.zackreed.com, and you can go on there and look at it. When I'm telling you right now, it's right on that website. I'm not telling you something that I'm just saying in the studio. I'm telling you, I've looked at this, I've evaluated. I got over 30 years of experience and longevity to be able to get to do this job. On day one, to go down there and change the face of this city. So if you go to zackreed.com, you'll see it. You can volunteer, you can give money, you can get a sign, you can do whatever you need to do on www.zackreed.com.
Can I mention this fun fact about you? Fun fact is that you already have mayoral lineage in your blood because your brother Brad Sellers is already the mayor of Blunsville, correct?
That's right. Yeah, my dad had 5 boys, and all of us were good athletes. He turned out to be the tallest athlete. So, but we're all great athletes, or good athletes. I'm not gonna say we're great, but I played baseball at the best high school, the greatest high school in the history of high schools, John F. Kennedy High School, on 177th.
JFK, stop it.
That's cool.
Hey, what's that?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh. Country. So, so my dad all wanted us to play sports, and we all played sports. But early on, when I was delivering the Cleveland Press, and I'm aging myself by saying I'm delivering the Cleveland Press, I just got into this business of community service, working with former councilman William Bill Franklin when we had 33 wards in the city, and he just took me underneath his wing. And he just taught me, this is what you do as a public servant in this community. And I just got it. I was president of my school at John F. Kennedy. I went on to study political science, and it just got in my blood. And I remember going back to talk to my dad, and I told him, I love sports, but I just want to go into government and be in politics. And I remember him telling me point blank, he says, there ain't nothing but crooks. You're going to turn out to be a crook. And I told him, I said, I think you and my mom did a pretty good job. I'm not going to turn out to be a crook. And so I think me and Brad and I just talked to Brad, and I was in his office about 2 weeks ago. And I said, our dad would probably be right now looking up at us, pretty proud of us, because not only did we have one person who wanted to go into public service, now we got 2.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. That's what's up. So the thing about it is, like I said, you know the resume, Zack Reed. You know, there's no you got Kizzy and Jay. Both of them been my co-hosts for a good while. We talked about the politicians in here, and there's always been a positive vibe around Zack Reed because you always bring the positivity around it. And you was preaching today. Anything you want to say, and anybody that want to get into politics right now?
I just tell people, you come work on my campaign. People ask me all the time, how do you get in it? How do you do it? I tell them I started on campaigns. You got to work on some campaigns. When I went to live in San Francisco, I started working on Dianne Feinstein's campaign. Who's a senator, still a senator today. She was running for mayor in San Francisco. That's how you get it. You gotta work on these campaigns. You gotta do the grunt work. And once you do that, and you learn that this is something you want to get done, you want to be able to go give back. Like I said, why I'm running for mayor? Because the city has been good to me, been good to my family, and it gives me the opportunity to give back and do something good for the people in this community that has been good to me and my family.
So you said nothing goes down until June 16th. Really be like you just so you're not worried about, because a lot of people think that you're a shoe-in, considering that Frank is not running no more.
No shoe-ins. There's no shoe-ins in this business. I mean, who would ever thought Barack Obama would be president of the United States against Hillary Clinton? You got to work. My mom told us early on, the hard work never killed anybody, and that's why I work every day. I mean, I go east, I go west, I go north, I go south. I go everywhere. I talk to people, people who like me, people who don't like me, people who stand my guts. But I want to hear from them. And I want people to go to my website, www.zackreed.com. Let's have a good conversation, because we're pretty confident that we're going to win this race, but confidence doesn't win races. Hard work does.
All right. I hate to bring this up, but, if you're talking like everybody talks about your past.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing about it is like everybody's got a past. Mm-hmm. So how does your past, the mistakes that you made, help you be a better leader?
Well, I think, I'm listening to one of my favorite preachers is Alistair Begg, and I'm listening to him right now. He's a preacher at Parkside Church in Solon, and he's teaching on legacy, and he's talking about when Paul told Timothy, you got to preach in season and out of season. And he says, you got to preach when people like you and they don't like you, and they always not gonna like you, and you're gonna make mistakes. Mine wasn't a mistake; it was bad judgment. It was terrible, bad judgment. But the one thing that I learned from being the Christian that I am is that you got to get up.
That's right.
And you got to get up, and you can't let that. I didn't let my DUIs define who I was.
Okay.
Yes.
I was better than that. I was alcohol had taken over, and they had done some things to me that I wished I had not done. And could I go back and wish that? I'm not going to even say if I go back and not wish I had not done it, because when I get to heaven and talk to the Apostle Paul, I guarantee you Apostle Paul would tell you I wouldn't give up what I did before. We'll never do that, because it makes you a better person.
Builds character.
Yeah, it made me understand that lack in judgment was a lack in judgment. My mom and my dad reared me to be a better person than that, and I let them down, and I did something I wish I had not done. But at the end of the day, what I tell, even the ones like we were talking about that's why I tell you, I want to hire the formerly incarcerated men and women. I want to have a department in City Hall, a division, if it can't be in a full-scale department, a division or sector in City Hall that literally gives hope to those individuals that are formerly incarcerated. It was a lack of judgment, what you did. But don't let that define you.
Right.
Get up.
Wow.
Get moving. I mean, the greatest boxer in the world was Muhammad Ali, right? He got knocked down by Joe Frazier, right? In Madison Square Garden, right? He got stripped of the
title because he didn't want to go to Vietnam.
Right. And what did he do?
He got up.
He won. He got up. And he beat Joe Frazier twice after that.
You only learn after making certain moves. That's the great thing. And it's funny that you being a Christian, and so therefore I know you understand. The thing about it is the people that are considered perfect are not always the ones that carry out the mission. And the reason is because if I've never made a mistake, then I can't really tell you which way not to go. Right. I can't really lead or guide because I don't have a clue. I may just lead you down the wrong path because I'm figuring it out myself. So I think I'm glad you shared that. I'm glad you said that, because I do agree that when we make those mistakes, it builds character. We learn from it, and we can also teach other individuals who can share that story. And we can also help them to understand that it's okay to have a moment where you're not at your best, but it does not define who you are.
Right. I've been to jail. So I know.
You know how messed up the county is. You want to change that right now.
Hey, I was in the workhouse and seeing the bad conditions. So what happened when I was in that workhouse and saw the bad conditions, that those individuals were sitting on that floor, what happened when I went back down to city council? I raised hell about that. Those people don't deserve to be sitting on laying on some floor, overcrowded like that.
Right.
You know, and maybe that's what the Lord wanted me to be able to see it firsthand. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I wish I had took me down that pathway to see it, but at least I was able to then become an advocate for those individuals that were in that workhouse at the same time that I was in that workhouse, and saying, they made a bad judgment. They should not be in those conditions.
Right. So I'm gonna say this. Go ahead, Jay.
Ooh.
That's right.
Could you put that on the T-shirt?
Right. Okay.
I need for you to put that on the T-shirt and bring that up here. I'm gonna say this before you go, Jay. Jay, you and Kizzy.
Thank you very much, sister.
Right.
Thank you, sister.
Kizzy and Sunshine and Kizzy, and then Kizzy and Kizzy. Kizzy, the other queen, the queen glam, queen with gold mic. You know, it is what it is. All of and I'm gonna say this. You said the rooms, the AA and stuff like that, going down that road. The thing about it is that I'm just going to tell on myself right now. I messed up along the line back in 2014, 2015, lost a relationship. Kizzy knows my story. Jay knows my story. So the thing about it is like when you said inspire somebody, you looking at somebody that you actually inspire, because I look at your story about the DUIs and stuff like that. And the thing about it is you can do it, I can do it too. So we brothers must stick together, especially when we fall on difficult times, because the simple fact of the matter is that you don't know where God leads you.
That's right.
So the thing about it is that if you're going to look at it, but like the thing about it is this show is nonpartisan. We don't have a dog in the fight. We give everybody a chance. But Zack Reed, the person, is also a man. And he just showed you how it can be done if you make a mistake. And you was preaching today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, I thank you for the opportunity. I'll come back anytime you want.
You know what?
I got at least $50
after I, because I'm pretty confident we're going to get our 3,000 ballot signatures. I'll be more than when I come back and actually physically get on the ballot. I'll be more than happy to come.
All right. You more than welcome, and I know that Jay probably will be here. She got to just tell the people in Ashtabulity to screw off. So we're gonna let you go. But please, before you do, there's a KFC and stuff is out in the green room. Take some water. I know how difficult it is to campaign. Take some more water. Take some stuff.
Signs up on my way back over to Kinsman. I got to put some signs.
All right. So before you go, can people volunteer for your campaign?
All they have to do is go to www.zackreed.com.
All right.
And we're going to have just so you know, I need to say this because my campaign manager is mad if I didn't. We're going to open our new campaign headquarters on 154th and Kinsman, 15407 Kinsman Road on Saturday, July the 5th.
Saturday, July 5th, the day after Independence Day? There's going to be some fireworks.
No, I'm sorry. I said July 5th. June 5th.
June 5th. Okay.
June 5th. Saturday, June 5th, right on 154th and Kinsman. We're going to open up our brand new Zack Reed for Mayor Headquarters.
And what time is that? What time is that open?
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
Come on up. free food, music, DJ Ellery gonna be out there.
We don't have DJ Ellery. DJ Ellery everywhere for real.
Right.
All right, him and DJ Chicago. That's about So we'll be up there. Trust me.
Well,
So
thank you. I appreciate you very much.
thank you, Brother Reed, and you just leave your literature there, and we'll make sure you put it up. So we'll see you very, very soon, and take something with you when we come back. The ticket giveaway here on the Headline Eye, 216-249-6658. Be the fifth caller when we come back. This is Drake. I got my eye on you. We'll be right back.
All right.
That was fantastic. I love that.